red and multicolored and flowing in every direction as far as the eye could see, complete blackness around you in every XYZ axis, except for the sky. And it was just flowing like this river, and it was all bits of code, and it showed me and told me how that each individual, each living thing has got a piece of this mandala code inside of them, and that code is made out of...
Now, a piece of this code, or are they entirely comprised of this code?
There's like a line of code inside of them, right? And that their body is like a container. It's like they're like a driver, which is unaware that they have a passenger in most cases. Most people live their entire lives without knowing that they have this code of the cosmos inside of them. And what that source is comprised of is pure energy and love. And love, not in the sense of the way like I love Chinese food and I love that couch, but it's a word, a symbol with our mouth we've applied to a phenomenon which transcends our ability to put real language and words on it. It's the feeling, that energy of that we're talking about when we say love, that magnetic thing that kicks in inside of us. It's that, And it showed me how that those pieces of code have been going on for aeons, and that whenever somebody, a human, an animal, a plant, any of those things are living, that a piece of this code is issued to them from the source. They live their life, and that through the act of living, they help perfect that code. And when they drop their body or their container is gone, the code returns to the source and is issued into another container. And it said that's why you'll meet some people who seem incredibly wise and incredibly well-aged whenever they're in their early 30s or early 20s or something. And you'll meet some people in their 40s which seem like babies. It's because it's this new, fresh code, right? Well, not new to them, not new to us per se. So, in that did a lot of things that not that I had any. I'd
You think? You think that did a lot of things?
Did a lot of things.
I would hope so.
A couple of bells were
You're like,
wrong.
That was interesting. Now back to fucking
Next.
World of Warcraft. Let's
Exactly.
just keep this going. No,
Yeah, give
change
me a
the
beer.
shit.
Now, and a lot of things, of course, but, one of the things was that, I'd worked and dealt with the idea of death a lot over the last decade or 15 years, but I had no problem with it. I actually kind of look forward to it because I'm just excited about the idea of it. Not like I'm going to go, I'm not actively seeking it, but I'm okay with the idea because I know it's another layer to the fabric of the cosmos, and I'm excited to see what that layer is. And I have no fear about the idea of me, like if you're in a plane and you look down and you see a city and you think about yourself not being around anymore, you'd be pretty hard to go, that's not going to work without me. It's like, it's all going to be fine without you.
I remember, do you remember that moment where you realized your own mortality? I remember mine very clearly.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a hotel room in New York and I was looking down at all the taxi cabs, and I came to terms with the fact that I was going to die. And I just kept looking, and the only comfort I had was like, well, I guess everybody's going to die. But it was still like this really melancholy kind of sad thought that I was going to die and everybody was going to die. Everybody I knew was going to die. Really kind of weird thing that everybody has to cross at a certain point. And then hopefully through some of these journeys or whatever practice you have, transcend those fears that are a bit juvenile in nature.
Totally. And I look at it also as like, I have the same feeling as like, holy shit, man, everyone was born. Everyone had to be born. Holy fuck, what a harrowing experience that was. So, after, it really just that last bit of like safety net I had in my brain about the idea of death, it was like, you already, on an intellectual level had sorted it out and were comfortable with it, but on a heart level, here, it's all fine. This thing is this recycling, perpetually generating process that's perfect. And I'm leaving out a bit of details here, but I also realized that plants were psychic during this experience, and so seeing that it really...
You'll have to explain that at some point, but let's continue with the thread. Footnote, everybody, plants are psychic. We'll get back to that.
Put that in your pocket. So, I really started like... I came to terms with the idea that it's this giant perfect system, right? And that I used to have, my compassion was directed so much more at the individual, and I would almost have an anxiety about people whenever I could feel that they were feeling a certain way. I could feel their uncomfortableness, their sadness, their hopelessness, or any of that. I would almost have a obsessive compulsive urge to try and help with that and give my energy towards them to make them feel more comfortable and so forth. And that really was lifted, because whenever I saw that system, it made me see everything on a layer above the individual. It made me see how it's this giant source that's feeding into everyone. Like there's a string going, as a little marionette show, a string going into everyone. And I became more interested in honoring
a marionette show that maintains free will.
Right.
Making it much more differently.
That's a whole other podcast. I think we can choose our choices. I think that's what free will
is. What else is free will? Choosing your choices.
I think that's so. In that, so we could go on that forever. But in that, whenever I came back from Peru, the idea that repulsion I had to eating meat, and it wasn't like I didn't want to eat meat. It was something that just slowly over time, the more I thought about it, the more it got to where I was like, I can't, like, I would try and put it in my mouth and it would make me feel nauseous. It wasn't like one day I decided I'm going to be a vegetarian. I just started eating it I slowly kind of phased it out. And then one day I just stopped and was like, all right, well, fuck it. But whenever I got back, that feeling, that block was gone, that wall, was gone. And so I was like, all right, well, let's try some fish.
So that's the long road to becoming not a vegetarian.
Yeah,
for sure. First, go back to the source code of the universe, and then maybe you can enjoy a steak.
I recommend that for everyone, regardless of your desired result.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting what you say, and the way that you saw it confirms a lot of other things that I've seen in a lot of other traditions where they basically talk about that universal force. They don't usually use it in the term of code, but they'll say source, and there's a piece of source. Yeah,
so
there's that piece of source or piece of God, which is a really challenging word. People freak out when you say God. But so you say source, so a piece of source in all of us that's all the same, always connected, but all the same our own, and that's that dichotomy that always exists. What is in, as above, so below, what is inside, so without, that kind of concept. And cool that you're able to actually see it visually represented, like these little
that was one of the ones
mandalas.
That was one of the ones where I was sitting in kind of a slumped over lotus posture, and I was just seeing all this, I was muttering to myself under my breath. I was just going, what the fuck? What the fuck? I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Holy shit. Just like looking at that, and I kept giggling because it was so utterly mind-blowing. I was like, how is this even possible that I could see this, how is it even possible? But there it was.
There it was. And then so realizing that, somehow that we're these vessels and this perfect process exists, partaking in the vessel of another kind of code vehicle seem to no longer be
right. It's like that's going to be okay. That's a container for the
what really matters is the code, which you can't eat.
Right.
You're not going to eat that unless you're the Highlander and you're absorbing cow Wendigo.
If you're eating code, you're doing some brujeria, man.
We're going way too deep. You're eating anybody's code, like Pac-Man style.
Serial killer, serial code eater.
No good. Right on. So let's back it up a little bit. You've never done ayahuasca before,
right?
And I invite you on this crazy journey to Gandalf. You immediately are like,
of course, man.
Let's do this.
Why would anyone say no?
So lead us through kind of the experience, like as far as some expectations, and then through some of the journeys. Let's tell some stories.
Sure. So, I after you asked me to go, I was super pumped, ready to do it, and was happy to jump in there. And I didn't really have any anxiety about it, or worry about the whole thing. Mainly, I just had to think through the process of getting there. That was my main thing. Is okay, take a flight to Peru, which is no big deal. But then taking a internal Peruvian flight to another city, and then taking a bus to a river and taking a boat, down into the middle of the jungle. It took a couple of a couple of days of processing. And I was like, okay. Once I thought through it, I was like, oh man, this is easy. And what I usually think with travel, and it may be helpful for anyone that has issues with travel, like if they're going somewhere crazy, like Bangkok or something, where they're like, oh my God, how am I going to get around? Think about how many like hundreds of thousands of people do that every day. You know, like it's fine. You'll be, it's all good. So anyway, got there and was super pumped and happy to meet Don Howard. What can I say, man? You know, what can I say? He's quite a amazing spirit.
Yep.
Among many other things, quite a from what I learned, he's a master of masters. You know.
Well said.
And so, you know, it was great. I think the second day was when we did our first ceremony, right?
Yeah. Because
so it was great.
That was at the first. Yeah, we
not
jumped right in. Not a lot of time.
Yeah.
First night we're shredding leaves and pounding out ayahuasca vines.
Oh, which a good a nice tidbit is. Well, the first day when we got there, I think we went to the ayahuasca kitchen and helped Don Robert make some of the ayahuasca that we would have later, and we each went up to set an intention. We were each given a piece of plant. You know, I feel like Howard was giving us in particular ones. You know, for the specific person. He gave me the Bobinsana plant. You know, of course, and
Bobinsana is like a heart opening, very friendly.
Yeah.
Kind of like the love plant.
Totally. So went up there to the pot and was looking at it, and this is the first poltergeist thing that happened to me, you know. And as a quick pause and a quick aside, like as my personality is, I'm 50%. I said 50. I'm 50%, you know, scientific materialist. 50
I'm 50% scientific materialist, dog.
But this is a good ramp up to what I'm about to say. I'm wearing Stan Smiths, man. I can't not say it. Anyway, 50% scientific materialist and 50% New Age spiritualist. That's, you know, I believe everything in a matter of percentages, not in that.
You know, 5% of people understood that,
right?
And I'm on the 95.
A non-Aristotelian thought process.
Right.
It is not A or B. It is A and B in a ratio in between those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at all cosmic matters, or you know, things of supernatural even, or extraterrestrial in that way. I don't believe them hard, but I don't disbelieve them. You know.
Right.
I think that my instrument, my nervous system, is a flimsy little, you know, broken old TV antenna that can only pick up a very tiny bit of the frequency that's going on in this universe. Which I was given a larger antenna while we were in Peru. So anyway, so I just came to everything with an open mind and open heart, you know, and so I take my plant matter and I go up to the boiling pot, and we're supposed to set an intention, and I looked at it and, you know, breathed a little bit, breathed in some energy, breathed it towards the pot, and put my plant in, and my intention was, you know, let me spread as much love as possible, you know, to the cosmos, not just to people, but to some sort of bigger picture, you know. And I looked at the pot, and as I was looking at the bubbling water, I felt like a voice like Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction. That was what it sounded like. And it was like as if the pot was talking to me, and in my head I heard him go, "We bad, motherfucker, and we're going to do this smooth like."
Which then became the theme.
That became the theme, yeah.
The theme of the ayahuasca trip.
But the cool thing about that is, apart from it just being funny, is that it really was where, it was like, as I said, the first poltergeist moment where I was like, oh, wait a second. I just heard someone else's voice inside my head, and it looked like it was coming out of this pot. And I'm stone cold sober, you know? So, okay. So I was like, all right, well.
Okay, things are going to get weird.
Yeah, I was excited. You know, I was like, great.
Yeah.
So, you know, my expectations were like, basically, I thought, you know, so many people have done this. Your mom has done it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, you know, let's go with it, and it's going to be all good, you know. And so, it was fun going into the ceremonial Maloka, where I was a little, you know, I was on time. You know, I'm never late. I'm just on time. So I go in, I'm on time, you know, and everyone's sitting around. You know, you sit in these one's larger circle, everyone's on their mat, and then within that there's a smaller circle, and everyone's on their mat, and then there's a, you know, ceremonial table at the head of the room. So whenever I walked in, there was just candles lit. Of course, they cut the power off, and you're in the middle of the jungle, so it's complete darkness. Everyone's wearing white and sitting in the circles in lotus posture. And I thought, oh, great. You know?
What the hell did I get myself into?
Yeah. So when does the orgy or the suicide begin? You know, I'm whatever. So that was fun. But, you know, I sat down and, you know, one of the most fascinating parts of it to me is that it's so highly ritualized, you know, and the space is highly ritualized. The process is so highly ritualized. Everything in the space is incredibly ritualized. It really, you have to see it. You got to be there and to feel it's the mothership, you know. And I had one night where I was sitting there looking up and I was thinking, if you can't do it here, man, you can't do it anywhere, you know? Yeah. So, especially with Howard and Don Robert, you know? Yeah. So, you know, one of the most interesting things to me that continued to blow my mind was Howard, you know, who you're calling Gandalf, his ability to, he would go around to everyone and put agua de Florida on your heart and on your forehead, you know, on your heart chakra and third eye before each ceremony. He would say something to you. And it never ceased to amaze me every time before every ceremony what he said to me. And I could hear him saying things to other people. The ability he had to say the perfect thing and to know exactly, I guess, the almost the scaffolding you needed to be able to, you know,
some deep intuitive intelligence where he's like, I don't know why you can even ask him about it. I don't really know what I'm going to say. It just, I have an idea and I just go with it.
It's almost as if it's being channeled.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, you know, the first ceremony that I did, you know, was really my main goal was looking for confirmations, you know, and confirmation of in my life throughout, you know, a lot of different psychedelic experience and you know, over a decade of meditation. I felt in tune with what I thought was the source already, you know, before this. I could close my eyes and see flickers of what I thought would be something like ayahuasca consciousness. I could feel energies and things moving inside my heart towards other people. I could direct those things, you know. And I wanted to know if, you know, one of the things, this type of thing gets so slippery, you know, the mastering of the ego and the moving of energies, because you can start thinking that you're moving energy and you're getting in touch with the source, but really that can be the highest level of ego because you're really, you know, subjectively thinking that, but then you're believing in your own belief that you're actually doing these things whenever really you're just, you know, in a fantasy world essentially. And I wanted to see, like, am I really feeling these things, and is my heart as open and, you know, open to other people and whatnot as I think. So Howard comes over to me, and we hadn't really talked much, like, you know, it's day 2, and he comes over to me and pats me on the heart and looks at me in the eye with this amazing deep look and goes, "I see you, brother. I see you." And I was like, all right. And then he taps me on the chest and he goes, "You have a beautiful heart." And I was like, okay, well, he just scanned my brain, I guess, or spirit more likely. So, I mean, you know, the ritual of him calling everyone up one by one, you've probably covered this somewhere before in there, and that, you know, they give you what they think you need for that ceremony. I approached, was just, you know, my heart was not racing, but it was definitely, you know, blood was pumping, mind was nice and awake, went and drank, and I actually thought the ayahuasca tasted quite nice. It tasted kind of like cold, well, this doesn't sound nice, cold coffee, but it tasted sort of like bitter coffee, but I like scotch and cold coffee and stuff like that, or iced coffee, bitter coffee.
The first time is the best it'll ever taste.
Absolutely.
You know, that's I described it as, like, it's definitely true.
I described it to my brother as like you can drink, let's say you drink Don Julio, you know, 1942 one night, and you it's amazing, but you drink, like, you know, I don't know, half a bottle, and you puke your guts up. And then 2 nights later, someone's like, "Hey, drink another half a bottle of 1942." And you're like, "Okay." And you drink it, and you finish the bottle, and then you puke your guts up. And then the next night, someone's like, "Hey, have another half a bottle of tequila." And you're like, "Oh, God, no." And no matter what it tastes like, man, if it's the impetus for you puking your guts up, you're not going to like it. So anyway, so I drank it, went and sat down, didn't even wash my mouth out. And, you know, I started feeling after 10, 20 minutes the gravity shifting and that kind of psychedelic, you know, force coming, and I felt comfortable with it, felt good, and then they started blowing the candles out, ceremonial, one by one, you know, and each one of those, and when there was one candle left, I started going, that little light is like, that's my basis for like time and space, you know?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What happens when they blow that one out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they did, and I felt the ascension take place slowly and steadily, and it was great. I mean, I felt warm. It felt welcomed. It felt very natural to me, very like just homey and like comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And started getting a lot of interesting visions there. And I guess it's so hard to describe what the visions are like unless you've actually done it. I mean, I'd read a ton of things about it before, and like you can't really know it, but I suppose it's like, I mean, they say it's like lucid dreaming. I guess it's like that, sort of, but it's like seeing
I feel like lucid dreaming, though, you're like generally confined to constructs that your conscious mind can think of,
Yeah, but
whereas
this is
the
like
shit you see there, you're like, whoa.
I think
that's a never-ending floating mass of snakes and feathers and light and energy and mandalas.
So I didn't see that one, but
I saw that one a lot.
Yeah, it's like a doorway. Like it opens your mind to this other dimension.
Yeah.
But I was still very aware that was where I was as far as being in a room.
Sure.
Like in my visions, like I could open my eyes and see, even though it's pitch black, but if there was a little flickers of light here or there, like I could see, they would kind of like mix with my normal vision.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it would mingle, So I got a lot of interesting visions, and that first night. And one of the things that happened, the most, I guess, relevant thing, was that I felt like if there was like a softball in the middle of my chest, it just like, and that was my heart chakra, it like expanded like 2 or 3 inches, like it ripped open, and I could feel like energy in there. And all the things I saw were what I had been seeing, before I came there, but just in a much more intense level. And so I thought, wow, okay, I can feel my heart. I felt it open, and I could see those things that I was seeing, but just on a much deeper level. So I thought, cool, there's my confirmation, essentially. Now, and also the nausea, of course, fighting with that. That was pretty challenging. It's like if you drank a whole bunch of alcohol and then you're like throwing up at 4 a.m. and you're like, oh God, and you're hanging on, but you're like, why the fuck did I drink so much? I'm such an idiot. Yeah. I did have that thought of like, why did I drink so much ayahuasca? I'm such an idiot. Oh God, what am I doing? Uh-huh. But then that passed, with the Icarus. It would almost feel like someone turned on a ceiling fan, like blow some of that nausea away, or it would make it come up. There's a couple times
they would move it around,
start jamming out Icarus, and I was like, well, there's my vomit just took the elevator to the top floor. So. The second experience, however.
So let me start. let me tell the second experience from my vantage point.
Please.
So I get through, and I already told this story a little bit, but it was like this deeply introspective, kind of soulful, eye-opening journey where I was looking at some of my deepest shadows, and knowing that I had to confront them later, but I was just kind of on the hunt, and just very kind of soulful. Almost had a melancholy, like here I am on the hunt that I didn't even know I have to chase this giant shadow down. So I grab my flute, and I'm still kind of in the medicine, and I go up to the sky deck all by myself in the dark, and the stars are there, and I start playing a soulful tune to
and keep in mind that the star deck is like it's in the jungle. It's like it exceeds the limits of the property.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
so it's like far away from everybody. And I'm just like playing my most soulful tunes on my Native American flute, and then I hear someone from down underneath the hill going Prangi, and Prangi's this other musician that we had with us. I was like, what the hell is that?
And to your credit, he's Brazilian.
He's Brazilian, yeah, he's Brazilian. So I was like, they can't confuse me for him because I suck and he's really good. But I was like, all right, maybe he is calling for me. So I look down there, and there's Corey, just barefoot, and I could just see your eyes glowing like a wild animal that you see startled in the brush. I was like, whoa, he's got the crazy look in his eyes. And then he's like, hey, Aubrey, he's like, do you have a light? And I happen to have a flashlight. So I was like, yeah, I got a light. It's like, okay. It's like, I want to come up. So I shine the light on him, and there's 2 ways to approach the sky deck. One is up this giant hill, which is like at such a savage incline, like only a ridiculous wild animal would try to climb that. And then there's this kind of winding walkway that goes up. But Corey just goes straight for the star deck, right? So I see him. He gets down on all fours, nails digging into the dirt, like feet like claws, just pawing it, like clumps of grass, like getting thrown, strewn about. Just this just full werewolf mode, climbing up to the top of the star deck. And you get up and you're like buzzed. You're like someone hit you with like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
It's like vibrating. I was like, whoa, holy shit.
An alien boarded my ship.
Yeah, exactly. And you start telling me some of the story about, first, the flute was amazing. I had to come find it. And then, but check this out.
Yeah.
And so that's how I heard this first story that you're about to hear. That was the setting for which it is.
This time, so this is just like a Tarantino movie. Now this is the end, and we'll come back to the beginning. So I'll tell this with 2% of the enthusiasm that I told you at that time. We were saying, we were joking about me being like Doc from Back to the Future.
You would
I
have
was
to
like, Marty, I went to the future.
Totally.
We need fuel. All right, so basically, that second ceremony, I went in and I was in the zone. Like I felt so good. I felt ready because now, I tested the water. I felt like it was like what it was like to experience it. And I was ready. I was ready to go deep, and went in there. And I don't even know. It's not my personality. But I go in there to I'm on time again, and everyone's already in there. I walk over, I like Parangi, our friend we talked about. I walked over and he just stood up, like as I walked by, and like looked at me, and I gave him a hug and kissed him on the side of the face. Which, I mean, I'm happy to hug people, but I'm not a type that goes around just kissing people on the side of the face. And he was, of course, he's a sweetie, so he was like, "Oh, thanks," he was happy to receive that. I went over to Olivia, your little sister, and kind of gave her a kiss on top of the head and said like. Again, I don't know why, but I said, "Good luck." And I went and sat down, and I just felt so like in the zone, like it was top meditations, like Zen mode. I was just dialed in. So I'm sitting there, I'm just ready, I'm full of energy, just already just vibrating. I was like, I want a giant cup, They call me up. I go up there, and this time instead of kind of scooting my little feet up to the altar, this time I'm swaggering it up there, man. It's like Miles Davis walking out into Carnegie Hall, man. I'm just ready, I go out there, and they give me the cup, and I just feel the highest level of meditative energy, the highest zone I can get. I felt I was in there, and whenever I get to that zone, I kind of like, I'll happen with playing music too, where I'll kind of almost be looking out into space or something, but I can start seeing through I guess I stop using my eyes per se and start tuning right into the head. I got that instantly when I walked up there. I downed the cup and looked at their eyes, Howard and Don Rober, and enjoyed the reflection. They looked pleased with my state of mind. Yeah. And I sit down, I start breathing, and Howard comes over and gives us the agua de Florida and the sang beforehand, and this time puts his hand on my shoulder and gives me this kind of shiny-eyed look and just goes, "Corey," and then walks off.
Enough said.
I guess he must feel the juice flowing, So not 20 minutes probably into the ceremony, I feel like a meteor just hit me in the chest, just bang, right? And it was my heart chakra just like ripping open, and just blue light just exploded out of my chest. In the area around that felt like it was like a crater that was like smoking and searing with like red, like comet magma or something, and it's just like searing there, and like light is just exploding out of my chest. And I was like, fuck. And I actually grabbed my chest like this. I was like, oh, because I just felt like my torso could rip apart. There was so much blue light just blowing out of there. I was like, fuck. So that went on for a while.
How many times has that happened to you, Orlando?
Every Thursday at 4 p.m. So I'm sitting there going, oh, fuck. So that went on for quite a while. And then I kind of start seeing this tube, right? And I'm like looking at it. I'm like, all right, chest is still exploding, and that becomes a theme throughout all my ceremonies. And so then I start thinking, that's a tube. I need to go down that tube, right? So I start trying to go down this tube I'm seeing, and like I'm kind of having a hard time. I'm like sort of treading space time, and then I see Howard. He appears like in my vision, and like whipping a cow. He goes, "Find it, brother, find it!" And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna find it." And I start going down there. And then ayahuasca starts showing me things to try and scare me off the path. It shows me like a giant snake, or like a bug that's like 2 inches away from my eyeball, or like her face. Like she looks like Angelina Jolie, but like it morphs into the skull preacher from Beetlejuice or something. And I just kept laughing because I'm like, you're not gonna fucking scare me. Like you can do anything you want. Yeah. You know, you can show piranhas eating my eyeballs, and I just don't care. And it would like laugh at me, like it was being playful, like it would giggle. And then I start going down the tube some more, and then it would go, here, how about this? How about this? Does this scare? How about some nausea? And I would go like, no, bitch. And I would like, I could feel the vines like creeping up my chest, and I would like prune it back down with my mind. And I would be like, and it would be like, you're not going to get down the tube. And I said, you know what? I don't care if I do anything else this entire night. I got all night. I'm getting to the bottom of that fucking tube. You know, I don't care what you say. I'll be here until morning. I don't care. So I'm trudging down there. So then I think, oh, I should grow wings. So sensible thing to think, right? Yep. So these wings just rip out of my back, and I start flying down this tube. And then I'm meeting a bit of traction again. And so then I think I see like a bunch of loved ones like very close to me appear in front of me, and they all and Howard is among them, and they all go and morph into my wings. My wings become gigantic. And so they're like, their consciousness are in these wings, and I'm like flying and soaring down this tube. A lot of other twists and turns. I finally get to the bottom, and that's where, well, at one point, a giant eagle comes and looks at me in the face and goes, "You're an eagle." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Get out of my way." And I keep flying. And then the giant eagle head comes back and it's like, "You're an eagle." And I was like, "No, I'm not. Out of my way." So then I go, "I'm this thing." And like I morph myself into this like beautiful white feathered like beast looking thing. And then the eagle comes back and goes, "No, man, you're an eagle." And I was like, oh yeah, that like beautiful white feathered beast thing, that's like vanity. That's like spiritual vanity. I'm not that thing. That's like trying to be unique or like pleasing to the eye. I was like, yeah, I'm an eagle. So whenever I thought that, the eagle head that was looking at me like reverses and goes shook and like sticks into my third eye. So I have like an eagle's like head coming out of my third eye. And so I'm flying down this tube, right? And and whenever that happened, my heart opening exploded again, and I got this crazy wave of energy, and I hear this voice from wherever, infinity, goes, "Now you know what fierce love feels like." And I was just sitting there like, you know, and my focus was crazy. That's whenever my crazy, you know, animal eyes that you saw kicked in, was because my focus was like 5-dimensional, right? Yeah. So I get to the bottom of this tube, and it's like, you're an eagle. You know, you've got the eagle coming out of your third eye.
You're ready to find something.
Yep. And then that's whenever I see the source. It goes, here's the source. You know, there's the source code. And then all the stuff I explained earlier about that. And then I go, there's a couple different little subtleties about that. I was talking to the source. I asked it my purpose, why it was showing me all this and so forth. And it told me that I'd been outsourced by the source, and my function in life was to be a mirror. I worked for the source, and I should be a mirror so other people can see the source within themselves. And it said that's how you can be of service, is just continue your existence, and people will like catch a glimpse of the reflection of their source within you, and it will, you know, basically get them on the path of their own. So I thought, okay, cool, I can do that. You know. So then I started thinking, like, how can I like move energy and feed it back to the grid? And it goes, blow it out the chimney, right? So through my giant heart opening, I start breathing in the energy, taking it up to my eagle third eye, eagle head. And then instead of normally pushing it back out my heart, which I would do in a meditation, I push it out the top of my head. And I'd never done that before. And I could feel, it felt like really, if you're constipated and you feel yourself like taking a bad, it's kind of gross. Feel like yourself taking a shit, you know? It's kind of like that same weird, like sluggy, like movement moving through the back of my head, and then it just goes shook out the top of my head, right? I was shitting love out of the top of my head.
Just clearing up some gunk,
Right.
probably.
Well, no, it was going back into the source, right?
Yeah.
And so that went on for a while. It goes, this is your instrument. Play your instrument. So I was like, all right. So it was like I was doing work, was like breathing that in and pushing all this out the source. So, this is a lot. I'm leaving out, of course, a lot of detail for time. And it was so just mind-blowing and intense that I felt like tapped out. And I remember saying to ayahuasca, like, look, I can't see, I can't think it. I think you might have told me too much. I can't remember all this. Like, I thank you so much. But I can't remember, and I'm afraid I'm going to forget stuff. And he goes, do you want to know more? And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I'm already worried I'm going to forget what, I've already been told. And it, like, as if the room like was cut in half, it opens like a industrial elevator door, goes, and then closes. And it was like a, sort of like an Apple screensaver, like the default one, all that, like the multicolored light is like that in there. And it was like, are you sure? And I was like, well, fuck it. Let's do it. I'm here. Let me see it. So I'm sitting there and and I start looking around and like everyone starts looking like they're covered in like a candy shell or something, right? And I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool. And I look at one person and it looks like their body is covered in like hundreds of gallons of Vaseline, like some bad Matthew Barney installation, right? And
I don't know what that is, but I have a fucking great idea. So.
He's an artist.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this person, and this like white tube comes out of this pile of Vaseline, and it's like waving in front of my face, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I should go in there. And so I got the eagle eye comes on, the wings are out.
You just see a hole and you want to go in it, Corey.
That's right. No time to waste. So I go.
Wait, a hole?
Yeah.
A tube? I'm in. Let's go. Let's plunge head first.
Yeah, eagle costume on, role playing, baby. So I go flying in there, and there's like all these conduits, like in the shape of diamonds, right? Like geometric conduits. So I'm flying around these conduits, and I see this like black stuff around one of the connection points, and I start like ripping at it with my hand. Looks like an eagle claw. I'm looking at it, and in real life, I'm actually like scratching my leg like this, like, ugh, but I feel like I'm scratching this black matter, right? And I feel like I'm pecking at it with my beak, and I'm like tearing this stuff off and throwing it out of this tube. And after I ripped it all off, there's this like red pulpy stuff that was there. It looked like something injured, and it said something to me, like a topic about what that was about. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, I should get out of here. So I fly out of there. Other interesting thing happened that night. A lot of interesting stuff.
And so this, and obviously you're not mentioning who it is and what the specifics are because
it's private.
It's private. It's private information. But that's really seems like what some of the shamanic path would be right. Like finding these things about people. Oh, what's the root cause of this, and then seeing if you can energetically or even through words or love or however you want to alter that, just be like, hey, I see this is hurting. Let's see if we can fix this.
Totally. And it's like allowing like them, giving them the space to be able to fix it for themselves.
Yeah, totally.
And so a fast forward. So that was interesting. And I
So don't show any holes or tubes around Corey unless you want him flying in there.
Zip right in there. So in an eagle costume. So I told all this to my mom, by the way, and she was kind of paying attention and then laughing afterward. And she said whenever I was a little kid that we went to this place where there was Native Americans selling these Native American, my family's got some Native American, and they were selling a bunch of little, figurines and whatnot. And apparently I was obsessed with and picked this man in an eagle costume, and just I kept it in my room for a long time when I was a little kid.
Wow.
Which is kind of a fun connection. So to fast forward to the third ceremony, again, another heart opening at the beginning. It felt like my heart like ripped to the sides of my chest this time. A bunch of other interesting stuff. So I get to let's say the fourth ceremony. Now I'm just ready to rock, right? I already was, but man, fourth ceremony, I was so ready. It was like I was going to an amusement park. I was like, okay, let's play,
Mm-hmm.
So I go in there, And
this is such a stark contrast from where I was. I'm like crawling, barely alive to there. Like,
kill me.
Please don't make me drink it again.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I guess it's the scales, I guess someone's got to have that experience for someone to
gives you what you need, man. I had this experience you're talking about. That was, my second and third sessions,
Well, my key is I'll just never do it again. So then I won't have the hard.
I don't know, man. For you, it might be like that every time.
I hope so. We'll see. I'll let everybody know. So the fourth one, I get in there. I'm just ready, and Howard goes up to me and he goes, I'm going to show you that less is more. And he goes, if you pay attention to the teachings, you'll be able to see this without drinking anything at all. And I was like, okay. And then while he was down there, I said, hey, I just want to thank you for everything. And keep in mind, people listening, that all throughout the days that we're there, all the off days, like we're with Howard, we're talking to him as friends, and also he's sharing his perspective and, and just awakened mind with us, and his time and space. He's one of those guys that has his own time zone when you're around him, and you're sharing all that. And so there's a lot more than just the ceremonies. So I said, just thank you so much for being an amazing mentor during all of this. I said, I've had maybe one other one in my life, like this. And he laughed and said, choose wisely, And I just said, I don't know what I can do to repay you, but, thank you so much. And he said, the feeling's mutual, right? And I was like, that's interesting, right? Cool. So I go up, and there was barely anything in the cup, whenever I went to drink. I drank it, and I went and sat down, and oh my God, 10, 20 minutes, whatever it was, okay, so the previously mentioned chest hole I talked about, if you had a giant, say you had a beach ball in your chest, and it was your torso, and that was it was like concrete in the space where the hole wasn't missing, so below your abdomen, up over your shoulders, like a tank top or something. Mm-hmm. That area just melted away, it was shattering rock, and my entire torso from my waist to my neck just exploded into a river of multicolored lights. It was just gushing. It was like if you took a brick out of a dam. It was right. So much so that my entire body was vibrating. I was trying to breathe. I was because I was just and
you're like, quick, I'm vibrating, find a hole.
Yeah. Everyone hop on. So, one of the interesting, I saw another animal during that which was a serpent, and it's a bit, we don't have time for me to go into about that one, but a lot of interesting, good things with the serpent, clearing other people's energies and chakra centers with this, in command, with the serpent during that, which is very interesting. Mm-hmm. But apart from the gushing rivers of love and energy that was coming out of me, and I could see it was like The Shining, where the elevator doors open and the blood comes out, but it's multicolored light, and it was washing inside of the ceremonial maloka, just up the walls everywhere, soaking everyone, right? And I started looking around, and I would just I was looking at people. And when I mentioned this to you about you, is I was just kind of looking at people during that, and I saw I looked at you, and I just saw I started seeing someone throwing down a bunch of Polaroids, and I was seeing Aubrey as a kid, Aubrey having this experience, him having this, and I was I wasn't there for any of these as him as a child, and I look at someone else, and I would see these other experiences, people I'd never met from the other side of the world, seeing experiences someone just throwing down a bunch of Polaroids. And then I heard someone say Corey, and I was what? And I looked over who it was, and they didn't really say it, but I heard their voice in that psychic space. And they I looked at him, and I'd see this black stuff around them, and I would just kind of look at it, and it would disappear, it would crumble up and go away. And I was that's interesting. And it kept happening. I'd hear someone else say Corey, and I what? And I'd look over there, and I'd see this black stuff, and it would just crumble and go away. So then I kind of sat back, and I started seeing it just coming out of everyone, this black, I don't know how to describe it, almost silly putty or something, but a bit more calcified. And it's like rising up out of people. I was seeing all sorts of crazy shit. I was seeing people's souls rise out of their body and just like float above them and stuff, and like could see like into their lives and things, and like moving this snake like through their bodies and all that stuff. And I mean, the seeing the souls levitate out of the body is something that like it actually kind of fucks with me still. Like it's still, that's the one image that I'm like, I almost can't even like process it. Like the River of Mandalas is one thing, but like seeing souls lift out of people's bodies and then their history. So I'm sitting there looking at all this stuff, and then I look and I notice that like all of the black stuff is also like it's like vanishing. And I look up and I see Howard sitting at the front of the ceremony space, and he's kind of just looking left and right slowly. And as he's doing that, those energies or that black stuff is like vanishing. And I was like, oh, that's what he's doing up there. Is he's just tending the garden with no effort, just like a pure straight up gangster, just laying it down. And then I look at Don Rober, and he looks like a Byzantine painting. He's just gold, and there's like gold light, like his chest is a doorway, and there's just like gold light flowing out of him. He looks like he's like floating, right? So then I start feeling this negative force, which is the first time I felt anything really negative in there. But I felt like it was outside of the Maloka, and it was like coming up behind me. And for you all who haven't heard before, there's these things called mapachos, which are like, I guess, cigarettes essentially, but it's just tobacco, natural tobacco rolled and smoked, used for
different
shamanic
species
purposes. Yeah,
that grows down there in
Absolutely.
South America. Yeah.
So they use those a lot, incessantly during the ceremonies. They light them and they do this thing that they go, which is them moving, energy, clearing it is what they would say, or they'd use it to set an intention or so forth. So I'm sitting there, it's pitch black, I'm feeling this negative force, and I start going, uh-oh. And I actually kind of got up and looked out the window a little bit to see if I could see anything, and there was nothing out there, but I felt this daunting force coming. And I started thinking like, uh-oh, I should probably try and do something about this. So I start breathing in, I'm still got the river of energy flowing out of me, but I think I'm going to try and breathe in something and make this thing go away, try and tame this thing that's coming. So as I'm like trying to put the plan together, I like breathe in, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And then Don Robert, just like a Old West, like a cowboy, like lights one of the mapachos and goes, and the thing just disappeared. It was like Billy the Kid, like bam.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, are you kidding me? So, and then there's so much more to tell. I saw hundreds of gods. I talked to a bunch of different species of gods that looked like Thundercats.
Nice. Thundercat gods. I didn't even hear that story.
Yeah. Well, there was so much on that fourth ceremony. I couldn't even start.
Have you written it down or anything?
What's that?
Have you written it down or anything?
I did audio diaries of each one, after at the night of, like before I went to bed, so it was all fresh.
Nice.
Yeah, apparently my folks looked like Panthro. I think Panthro in his name, the blue guy from. Anyway,
I dressed up as Tigro one year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice
for sure. It was stellar. We had the full cats: Chitara, Lionel, Panthro.
Boom.
Thundercats.
The amazing thing about it, one of the things, to get back to the poltergeist stuff that challenges my kind of the scientific materialist part of my mind is, I mentioned those experiences of looking at people, hearing them call my name, or seeing things about their life, and I kind of casually said, hey, maybe this is just the ayahuasca talking, but it's too cool for me not to mention that I saw this and this and this. And people were like, what the fuck? Like I had that experience as a kid, and I was thinking about that, or I did think about you during the experience, and I wanted you to I was asking you to come over and I don't know, I almost wanted you to sit by me or something during the ceremony, and I was thinking about you, and those are the people that I heard call my name.
I know for me, you mentioned all those Polaroids. For some reason, I didn't even mention this in my solo cast because it wasn't that significant for me, but I had this full recounting of my whole childhood and life, and I mentioned to you. Mm-hmm. So I was all of these old memories. I was just basically looking through my old memory photo album, just kind of browsing, scanning. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. That was gone. I totally forgot about that, and I was just going through the whole thing.
And it's so creepy. I'm like, yeah, wasn't that a nice memory? Arm on the shoulder.
Wait a minute. Yeah. It's did I invite you to go look at this memory book, or did you just come
Apparently, you opened the door, homie. Yeah.
I made the hole.
Yeah, and it zipped right in there.
Well, man.
The crotchless eagle costume came flying right in.
We're going to have to get into some more details in the of the Thundercat gods, and
for sure.
Some more of that.
For sure.
More to come. Well, Corey, my brother, it's been awesome.
Yeah, we had a great time down there. It was great, and it was great seeing different sides. I think both of us. It was really fun being down there and just got to see other sides of each other, and like the amount of, I mean, talk about putting your coat up at the door, man. Hanging your meat body up at the door and going into the party, as a piece of mandala code and a little container. And
you think you're gonna go down there and hide something? Forget it. Like if you, I mean, you can wear clothes to cover your genitals, kind of, but that's like the most coverage you're gonna get. Like period. Everything else is gonna come out. So it's quite a ritual.
And for anyone listening, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, there's a lot of, some people are more prepared than others, I think. Some people are more, however much spiritual work I think you've done, and not phony holy stuff, but real authentic, nuts and bolts spiritual work you've done, I think will have something to do with it, how clean your castle is. But if you have the courage to be willing to drink it, then you're ready, because that's all it takes. It takes open heart, open mind, and the courage to want to grow and know more. And if you have all of that, then the cosmic world is yours.
It's going to do it smooth like, because it's bad, motherfucker.
Yes, it is.
Corey, my man, you're a bad motherfucker as well. Thank you for stopping by, brother. Hit him one more time with your contact info.
Oh, yes.
We'll wrap this bitch up.
Twitter's @QuietDesign, which I'm actually thinking about changing that. So if anyone has any good ideas, let me know. And then my website is
Heartgape.
Heart Goatsy. Don't Google Goatsy, everybody. So Cory-Allen.com. And that's the website. So there it is.
Don't sleep on Heartgape, Corey.
Someone's probably already going to register it for me. But I do like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my brother. Catch up another time soon, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm gone for a few days, but let's go grab some dinner next week.
Let's do it.
And to you, my lovelies, thanks for tuning in one more time. And we're back again soon. Peace.